So I am super excited. We're sitting here with Lindsey Rice, Executive Director of the YWCA here in St. Thomas, Ontario. And we're here to talk about Project Tiny Hope. It's funny, I was talking to a good friend of mine who's a fire marshal actually in London about downtown London and some of the things that could be done there. And we work a lot in cities like St. Thomas and really thinking about housing, right? We are in the housing business. We know that there's an issue when it comes to affordability. And I referenced a project that I saw in Philadelphia where they were taking brownfield sites and they were creating housing that was something that you would want to live in and really creating a community for people where they could get into entry-level housing and get safe, affordable shelter. Next thing I know, I'm online and I see Project Tiny Hope pop up in St. Thomas. We emailed them right away and I said, I have to have you on our YouTube channel to talk about this project because A, I want the community to know what's happening. B, we have a lot of people that are relocating to our area watching this channel. And I know you guys are gonna want some funding from the government. I know this project is on the rails and headed sky high. And I wanna get the word out there in case anybody out there is looking to support projects like this. So Lindsey, thank you, welcome to the channel.
Fantastic, thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, so why don't we go into what Project Tiny Hope is first? Why don't you explain maybe the vision of it and then we'll get into some of the details.
Project Tiny Hope is a collaboration between the YWCA St. Thomas-Elgin, Tarry Homes, and Sanctuary Homes. It's been a work in progress for a few years now, and we keep getting closer and closer to our dream vision of Project Tiny Hope. 21 Kane Street, downtown St. Thomas, a brownfield property that was purchased by the YWCA with funding support from Sanctuary Homes, with a vision from Tarry Homes to look at bringing tiny homes to our community. And so here we are. We have a site plan developed with 40 tiny homes, 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, and 3-bedroom units. So we are looking at supporting diverse walks of life. And also part of the program, part of the property will have a program house so that we can be doing supports and services for residents on site.
Fantastic. And I really want to get into the details of like how these homes are being constructed and why Doug Tarry's involved. You know, shout out to Doug Tarry. I remember sitting at the economic development meeting in St. Thomas and him talking about net zero homes. He's always had a passion for building. He builds consumer homes that we sell and we are in the community showing quite often. But him getting involved in an affordable housing program, I love the bridge that's being built because you're taking a builder that maybe consumers would look at and say, well, builders are just in it for profit. They just want to get rich. And you get a guy like him who looks at, well, let's make something net zero, cost effective, create a wicked product that we'd be excited about, work with you who understand the social side of it to create an actual community. And now you're talking about the project house where you're giving people in that community a sense of purpose. I think you're hitting a lot of the things that need to be addressed when it comes to housing because you can give housing to somebody, but if there's no purpose attached to that, it may not take root. So on the social side, because you work with that so much, what were the needs that you were trying to address before we get into the housing?
So number one, affordability. We know that prices to rent units have just skyrocketed, not only across Canada, but right here in St. Thomas as well. So for individuals, families to find an affordable place to rent, it's becoming more and more difficult. We wanted to be part of that solution and bring forward more additional affordable housing. The supports and services that the YWCA offers to young people, 16 to 24-year-olds, adults, families, it's very case by case. So we really have a tailored approach dependent on where that person is in that point in time in their life. If they're looking at going back to school, how can we support them? If they're looking at entry into employment, how can we support them? If they're struggling with some substance use, mental health, social relationships, we really want to tailor our supports and services so that they wrap around and they are supportive to the goals of each unique individual. We don't do that alone. We look to our community partners also. St. Thomas-Elgin has a number of social services and we all collaborate and really try to integrate our services to create the tightest safety net we can for individuals and families. The intensive case management looks at a step-by-step process of building that foundation, knowing that housing is the first thing that you need. It's extremely difficult, if not impossible, to get a new job when you are experiencing homelessness, when you are couch surfing, when you don't know where you're going to be sleeping night to night. It's extremely difficult to get a job and maintain a job when the bills keep coming in. You might be working a part-time job, but you need more income. You have a family of 3 children at home. Your rent is going up. Grocery store costs are going up. All of these things compound each other and really create complex situations for folks who are on low incomes or fixed incomes. So the work that we do is really tailored to the individual or family, and that's what we plan to bring to 21 Kane Street as well, is that model of support.
I think it's super smart approach, right? Because I mean, even people that up until a year ago thought that they were in a great financial position with increasing mortgage rates, people are starting to realize that, you know, their mortgages have increased $1,000 a month. You extrapolate that to somebody that's just trying to get ahead in life, but they don't have the financial literacy, maybe the social network or the safety net to feel like they can get there. It's easy to get, you know, down on yourself and backwards a couple steps when you know you want to go forward, right? So
absolutely.
How do you find that? How do you find you can cross that bridge, and how do you find you can help people get in a position where they feel the confidence? Like, what are the breakthrough moments that you see in those relationships?
So when we try to build that initial first housing stability, it can be anywhere from 30 days to 6 months. It's different for everybody. That feeling of normalizing, having your safe place that is yours, that you are sleeping in the same place every night, that you're building that routine again that may not have been part of your life for a period of time. First, building that up, building in that your basic needs are all being met. Your food security is there, your physical security is there, maintaining those pieces.
And then heat, like just the basic stuff. If you're watching this, a lot of people that are watching this, you're in a green zone all the time because you come home and you feel safe. You park your car in the garage. You're not sleeping on the street. You're not experiencing, living in a yellow or a red zone 24/7. And that's what you're talking about, right? Is giving people that feeling of safety.
Absolutely. And so once you've built that foundation, it's then identifying goals and next steps. How do I want to build economic security? And that's when we think about the employment, the education pieces as opportunities for building that economic security, and the financial literacy that you commented on. When you haven't had the opportunity to have a wholesome income, it's hard to know what are the skills that you use to maintain a certain level of financial literacy. And so building those conversations and creating honest monthly budgets. Where is your money coming from, and where truthfully is your money going? And let's analyze that. Let's make some changes if necessary. Let's learn some new skills around finances. And so it's a step-by-step process. It's really goal-focused. It's short-term, medium, long-term goals, SMART goals, using those same strategies, but really taking those seriously so that we can move forward with that economic security.
It's so crucial. Like, I go back to my past, and I shared with you, I worked with YOU. We did a video with them on this channel. I struggled with addiction a long time ago in my life. Been sober over a decade, but part of that struggle was you're kind of caught in this world and that's all you know, right? And it's not until you realize, well, I shouldn't do my grocery shopping at Shoppers Drug Mart. Nothing against Shoppers Drug Mart, but you're going to spend like 45% more doing that and getting around people that can help you save and help you understand. And then I think about Doug Tarry. What does he need? He needs skilled labor and laborers and people that can actually work. So I could actually see the transition of somebody coming into a housing development like Tiny Hope, becoming employable in a place where they can feel a sense of purpose, working for somebody like Doug, and maybe going and opening their own framing company one day because they went through the trajectory. But it starts with that first initial thing saying, I can actually do it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's that foundation and then that movement forward. And walking hand in hand with supports, because it's tough for folks to do it alone. And so that's why we have intentional case management with the YWCA to build those supports and support people along their journey. And we've seen great success. We have 47 units that we provide supportive residential housing and supports to. And we see folks graduate, so to say, out of our supports and services on a regular basis. And to see them thrive and move on away from YWCA supports and services is truly amazing. It's wonderful.
It is. Yeah, hearing those stories, I remember Steve told me about one once where there was a girl who had children very, very young. She got into their program. They ended up going to Western. She became like a valedictorian or just somebody that was really looked up to and is now speaking at Western. These are the stories that you guys see, and I think it's amazing how you operate and the vision for it. Now getting into the housing side of it, I sell a lot of houses, do a lot of commercial real estate, and I understand the nature of what you're speaking about because we've seen the average price of a home skyrocket. It's leveled out a lot in the last year, which I think is very healthy for the market. but you're still talking about an average price point in our jurisdiction of $747,000. Do you know ballpark, like what they're looking at in terms of rents and what you guys are targeting, like to make it affordable versus what
Yeah,
we see?
absolutely. You know, when our clients and residents are looking for market rent in the community, it's anywhere from $1,000 up to $2,400.
Wow.
You know, 1, 2, and 3 bedroom units. So when you think about somebody's income and not spending more than 30% of your income on housing, which is the benchmark for affordability, it's just not conceivable. And so the rents that we are looking at, we are being guided by the Canadian CMHC, Canadian Mortgage and Housing Corporation, what they dictate as the average market rent and the median market rents. And so they're closer to that 688 mark. And of course, with our 1, 2, and 3 bedrooms, they will all be rented at different rates depending on the number of bedrooms. But we are consistently going to be looking at the below and deeply affordable rents, because that's what we know is needed in our community right now.
I think it's fantastic. And even Doug, when he spoke on the first video I saw about this on, I think it was CTV, he spoke about the construction materials. There's a lady that I'll introduce you to. Her name's Christina Smallhorn.
Okay.
She's in the States. She has a huge YouTube channel about tiny and affordable housing.
Awesome.
She's a huge advocate for it. She's a good friend of mine. And watching the construction of it, a lot of them manufactured wise, the quality of construction is actually even better than some stick-built houses that are out and exposed. I guess, how do you take houses and put them on a Brownsfield site, and what are the dynamics of that look like?
Yeah, and so again, so fortunate to be partnering with Doug Tarry Homes and their expertise that they bring to this project. And so purchased 21 Kane Street needed full remediation. So months of work went into that.
Environmental,
all of those things. And so that was a big milestone to tick off the box. And so now we have clean property, healthy property, so to say, right? And so these tiny homes, they are going to fully encompass a living room space, kitchen, private bedrooms, private bathroom, stacked washer and dryer, stove, fridge, appliances, and then the residents will also have access to the group-based spaces in the program house as well. Also on the property, which I should mention, is a really great playground for children and children who might be visiting grandparents, for an example, so they can have an outdoor space to gather and to play, and also raised fruit and vegetable gardens. We see
community garden,
resident gardens. We see opportunity to plant and harvest food right on the property, use the program house for canning, jarring, cooking foods, preparing it in large bulk amounts for residents to take back to their homes. Or even, why not walk around the corner and start some entrepreneurial work and have a booth at the Horton Street Market. It's right in that same neighborhood. So the food security piece is really exciting with Project Tiny Hope as well. There's a lot of opportunities there and a lot of interest. So
I remember when Detroit did that, one of my old bosses, Mike Smith from Joe Cool's, shout out to Mike Smith. I remember we traveled to Detroit when they got decimated on the real estate side. Community gardens became a big thing. So financial literacy, food security, understanding how to actually grow your own food, especially in the climate that we're in right now with supply chain issues and whatnot. I think that's super, super smart.
It'll automatically knock down your grocery store costs. If you can be harvesting fruits and vegetables, you're not buying them at the supermarket. So really great opportunities. So the build of the house and the property is a scattering of single bungalows, also semis and town row houses, again, of the 1, 2, and 3 bedroom quantities. So it's a nice mix throughout the property. So we really foresee these intentional neighbors happening, neighborships, relationships. I kind of made my own word there.
It's true though.
Relationship neighbors. But you could have a young person, a 19-year-old out on their own, trying to get into the labor market for the first time, not quite earning the income that they want or need to buy a market rent place, so they qualify for affordable housing. And right next door, you might have a 75-year-old who's on a fixed income as a senior or on a pension, a fixed pension. And what a great opportunity for them to become neighbors in this setting that is really being promoted with intentional neighbors and how they can support one another. So I think there's going to be a lot of social benefit from Project Tiny Hope, in addition to remediating at a brownfield, in addition to the net zero ready build and having this great energy efficiency piece of it. It's going to be less expensive to operate because of the energy efficiency as well. So that's an automatic benefit to our residents.
Yeah, I could see that. When I was talking about the project in Philly, one of the things I liked about it was that community piece, right? So one of the major issues they had was mental health and addiction issues. And when people were going into those subdivisions, I call them. I don't really call them like development housing. It is a neighborhood, right? They would go into those neighborhoods and they would be next to somebody who maybe went through the same struggle or addiction that they did, and they were in a community where there was a certain amount of rules of how you had to operate and live within that community, but it wasn't somebody dressed like this telling them how they needed to live. It was somebody who's been through what they've been through, and I've been through what some of those people have been through. So I can understand that having somebody in the community able to help you is very different than just looking for government assistance, where there's a lack of maybe understanding of that dynamic. And I think what you're explaining to me sounds like a neighborhood that maybe our grandparents used to live in, where the person on the pension or the person who's working for X employer gets to know you, and next thing you know, you get a job reference because of the person that's in the community, right?
Absolutely. That's a great example.
Yeah, it's a 360-degree solution. I think it's super smart. What are your critical timelines and dates? Like, what's important to you in this project?
Well, right now it's all about the money. It's all about the money. We know that cost of development, cost of housing has really escalated, and so our project has escalated just like any other build. So with that, we have a goal to raise $1.5 million by February the 28th, and the reason for that is because we want to leverage and apply for other levels of government funding. So local, provincial, federal, we are going to the table and going to be making asks to all levels of government. We believe that affordable housing should not be on the backs of home builders. We believe that it should not be on the backs of not-for-profits or on the back of government. It needs to be a collective. It needs to be a shared response. And that's what we are, that's our goal here in St. Thomas, is that we will be sharing the costs across a number of different entities. So our big push right now is some fundraising, and like this video, getting the word out, which is amazing. And then we're going through all of the appropriate channels through city planning, et cetera. And then we kind of sit and wait for a little bit until we hear back from the government and to hear back about any of that funding. And then we're shovel ready. We want to go, we want to hit the ground, we want to start building.
I've been through a few zoning changes and minor variances and cleanups in my day. So for you watching, what you need to really understand is the plan or the site's been actually approved for what they're looking to do. You just went to city zoning,
They just had the public meeting Monday night,
Yep.
and then it'll be in front of the council for a vote early February.
So I'd say pay very close attention to what's happening over the next couple weeks if you're watching this in January. If you'd like to connect with them directly, we'll have all the links below as well, or you can just send us an actual message. My support staff will connect you with them directly. You say you want to raise $1.5 million by February. I think it's a very achievable goal, given the size of St. Thomas and the people that are investing in the area. You know, you look at places like Amazon that are popping up in Talbotville, you're looking at a lot of the different dynamics happening. And I think this is something that can definitely take root. I really hope that government is receptive to it, because I think it's a great example of what can be done in a community. And I appreciate you guys having me here. I'll reach out to Doug, see if I can get him on to talk about the nuts and bolts a little bit. But yeah, wishing you all the best with the project, and definitely going to be supporting it as much as we can.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. This was a wonderful chat.
Awesome. Thank you.